Most coaches are using tonnage to track athletes' progress. Sets times reps times weight. They put the number in a spreadsheet, they watch it go up, and they call that progression. And I get it. You need a number, you need something tractable, you need something to tell people that they're getting better. The problem is that number is lying to you. Right now, your athletes are paying for it too. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly why tonnage sucks and it fails as a workload metric. I'm going to show you the 4 specific places it breaks down, and then I'm going to give you a system that I've already built to fix it. Stay with me because there's a free app at the end of this video that runs the system for you automatically. Let's start with what tonnage actually is. Tonnage is said to be a workload management tool. The idea is simple. You take the external load, so the weight on the bar, the number of sets, the number of reps, and you multiply them together. And you get a single value for that day's training session. The number you're supposed to represent of how much stress that athlete is accumulating on that session, a week, or training phase. Now, and for a long time, this was the best tool we had. If the number goes up over time, the athlete is doing more work. But here's where it starts to fall apart. Problem 1. Tonnage has no formula for tempo or duration. That's it. The whole flaw right there. If an athlete does a 3-second eccentric on a squat versus a 1-second drop, the tonnage number is identical. As a coach, we know these are 2 completely different stimuli. A 3-second eccentric creates more time under tension, more mechanical stress, more muscle damage. That's why we use it. But tonnage won't show you that. The formula doesn't have a line for it. So when you're looking at that number and trying to decide if your athletes are actually progressing or are getting more prepared or getting more durable, you're already having a misleading major variable before you even get started. Problem 2. Tonnage treats every exercise the same. Think about this. Take a bicep and a back squat. Same athlete, same weight, same sets and reps. From a tonnage standpoint, those 2 exercises produce the exact same number if you did it all the same. But every single coach in a weight room knows that that's completely wrong. And the back squat is much more demanding than a bicep curl because of the coordination, the more stability, more central nervous system output, more total body integration than a bicep curl. The cognitive and physical demands is not even close. When you use tonnage to track stress, you are quantifying a back squat and a bicep curl as the same thing. That's not a data tool. That's more noise and more confusion the coach is communicating to the athlete. Problem 3. Tonnage has no height variable. Take a 6'5" athlete and a 5'6" athlete and put them both on the back squat with the same weight. Tonnage says those athletes do the exact same work. But the 6'5" athlete has a longer moment arm, more range of motion, more distance the load has to travel, more total mechanical demand per rep. The taller athlete is working harder on the same barbell at the same weight, and tonnage will never show you that because height isn't part of the equation. And with so many individual athletes' heights, it's hard to track that. Problem 4 is the math problem. And this one is subtle, but it matters. Think about what happens as an athlete does more reps in a set. Rep 1 is fresh, rep 8 is grinding. Rep 10 is a fight. The later reps are most fatiguing. That's not debatable. That's physiological. But what happens with tonnage mathematically? As the reps increase, we go from 1 rep to 2 reps, you're doubling the value. When you go from 2 to 3, you're only increasing it by a third. From 3 to 4, by a quarter. Mathematically, weight of each additional rep gets smaller and smaller, which means the later reps, the ones that are actually creating the most fatigue and likelihood of injury and adaptation, are being counted as the least valuable part of the formula. The same logic applies to sets. Set 5 on a big compound movement is not the same as set 1. Cumulative fatigue is real, but tonnage treats them identical. So we've got 4 clear problems: no tempo, no exercise skill value, no individualization for the athlete, and a mathematical structure that undervalues reps and sets that matter most. Tonnage is not a bad idea. It was the best approximation we had, but approximation isn't good enough when you're trying to drive real results, measurable progress for your athletes. Here's the solution. I call it the Gradation Unit. This is a formula that I've been building since 2022. And it came directly out of research I put into chapter 10 of my book, The Daily Stress System. The core of that chapter is a concept called ESL, which stands for Exercise Skill Level. ESL quantifies the cognitive load of the athlete. And it's given any exercise and it looks at the actual variables that make up that exercise harder. There's a whole playlist I have, daily stress, weight room, that I have on my YouTube channel. It includes the stability, including center of mass, stance, points of contact, load implementation, meaning where the load is actually placed on the body, what implement is being used, and where the athlete is in the progression of that movement. A barbell back squat has a much higher or different skill level than a goblet squat. A single leg RDL has a different skill level than a bilateral RDL. The formula actually captures that difference from exercise to exercise. The gradation unit takes ESL and builds it on it by doing 2 things Tonnage can't. First, it accounts for tempo. Duration is part of the equation. A longer rep creates more stress, and the number reflects that. Second, it accounts for the athlete's individuality, specifically for height. When a taller athlete loads a back squat, the formula adjusts. The same weight on a different body creates a different output. And now you have the data that reflects that reality and true adaptation in the weight room over time. So what does that actually look like in practice? The app that I'm putting in the description below is free. You open it, enter the athlete's height, select the exercise, enter the weight, the sets, the tempo, and click add value. The app gives you a single number for each set, for every exercise, and a single value for the entire training session value. Add those things across the week, and you create a daily stress for that number. A real number, not an approximation. The most individualized number in the world to understand how much an athlete is actually doing. This matters for 2 reasons. 1, it gives you a more accurate picture of what's actually happening to your athlete on any given training day. 2, it gives you a better tool for driving real progress over time. When that number goes up across a phase, you know the athlete is doing more real work. Not just more bicep curls, but you're understanding what actually is going up. For new coaches watching this, I know you're trying to track your athlete's workload and you're probably using Tonnage because that's what you were taught. That is fine for now. That's where it starts. But if you want to build a system that actually captures what your athletes are doing, one that actually accounts for the exercise complexity, individual body proportions, real assessment of workload in the weight room, quantification of real reps and sets, you need a better formula. The gradation unit is the formula. It's built from the same system framework I used in chapter 10 of my daily stress system. And the app makes it a 5-second task every training day. For the athletic directors and the program decision makers watching this, what I just described is the difference between a strength program that guesses at progress and one that measures it. Tonnage is a guessing tool dressed up as data. The gradation unit is an actual measurement. When a coach can show real progress in real time through the daily stress number that goes up over time in a phase, that's a program that can actually dictate if they're getting better or not. That's what you want behind your athletes. The app is free. The link is in the description. Go run it through one exercise, see what a real stress number value looks like. Test it out with different athletes. Test it out with your assistant coaches if you guys are different heights. You will see the difference with one exercise, with one system, with one app. And remember, systems drive success. See you next time.